Virginia is ready, she can go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks. Hi, my name is Virginia. Thanks for joining us for our panel presentation, Braiding Culture, Disability, and Purpose for Youth Resilience. Diversibility Incorporated and our Arizona youth leaders have partnered with the Sonoran Youth through the Finds Their Way project. We have prepared 5 questions that our panel will be responding to. You are welcome to put your questions in the chat, and we will be responding to them at the end of the panel. Now our panel members will introduce themselves, first starting with Mateo.
Hi, my name is Mateo TreeTop. I am the Key Period Native Youth Navigator for Diversity Incorporated. And I've been working with Diversity Incorporated for some time. I am a graduate of the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum of 2015, as well as I've served on the alumni committee for a few years, but I'm currently off.
Okay, my name's Virginia Rossel. I am a representative for Diversity Incorporated.
My name is Audra, and I'm the peer-based services professional for Diversity Incorporated. I've worked for Diversity Incorporated for about a year now, but I was involved in the youth initiatives for the last almost 10 years. So including Arizona Youth Leadership Forum almost 10 years ago. So it's been it's been a very unique experience, that's for sure. And I'm glad to be here today.
My name is Audie, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. So the first question for our panel is, can you briefly explain your disability and how it affects your daily life?
Yes. So for me, since my disability is traumatic brain injury, that affects some of the more executive functioning skills like time management or organization, and that it also affects a bit of how I speak, as you can tell. This usually impacts my processing, both in receiving, but as and giving, meaning that it takes me a lot longer to process what somebody has said to me, as well as what I want to say back. And there is also a neurological factor. So, as it gets later on in the day, or I'm doing a lot more heavier, I guess, situations where I need to think more. Basically, my brain gets tired, and so that also impacts the that processing speed as well.
Thank you.
So how my disability is affected my life is that it takes me a lot of time to process when someone asks me questions, and my disability is autism and ADHD. So I get very flustered around people that I normally don't talk to, but I'm not used to it, but I'm trying to get try to like learn to like be myself instead of like being so insecure about it. But overall, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
My disability is ADHD and fetal alcohol syndrome. So I have a lot of difficulty with simple tasks, like either with school stuff or it's just home stuff. So I'll have to have someone explain something to me in a little bit more understanding way that I can understand how to do the process. And then I have a lot of, issues with fitting in or, other facts of being an adult in life. So that's what happens.
Well, my primary disability is hearing loss. I'm deaf in both ears and I'm wearing a cochlear implant. However, I grew up talking and all that. The way that really impacts my life is it just makes communication in general very difficult. I'm a big lip reader, so most of the time, if I'm not reading someone's lips, it makes it very hard for me to understand what they're saying. I don't like talking on the phone, and I don't like being in loud environments because it's very overstimulating. I also have some mental health disabilities, and I also have ADD, which is not a great combination, to be honest with you. There's a lot of, it's not just attention, it's hyperfixating on things, it's needing things to be a certain way, and that I need to really, really take care of myself. However, having all of that means that I know what's best for me, which is something that I know not a lot of people have that advantage, and I know what I need. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Thank you. For our second question is, can you share any personal stories or experience that highlight the importance of disability representation and inclusion?
Yes. So, for me, I do have a best friend that I've known for many years. I've known him since the third grade, and so one of the things about him is that he also has a disability that has affected him, and that and that he has he didn't know that it was a disability, and so when I went through AZYLF, the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, in 2015, I learned a lot of the language, as well as learning that is a type of disability, that is common, and I was able to communicate to him, that it is a disability and that's not to be ashamed of, anything to be ashamed of. So I think that, having the language to tell somebody that, it's perfectly fine, it's perfectly fine what they have, or that they even have something, is important. And that, sometimes within different Native communities, we don't always have that language to, certain words or certain type of language to tell each other that, just due to a traditional, traditional and non, a traditional, focus on not focusing on that, I guess. But it's good to at least I guess have that again, have that language to at least bring that type of unity.
Thank you. For me, when I was growing up, learning about my disability, I had no idea that there was help out there. So me and my mom struggled to get me into a good environment for me to learn that the disability that I had was it was something, it wasn't my fault, so it was something I had to get used to. So when my mom kept digging around trying to find people going through all these testing, she finally found the AZYLF, and I took a chance and I took it, and now I have more, awareness of my disability and that everyone else has it that I can look up to. So it gives me more confidence that I know that I'm not the only one going through this.
Personal stories or experiences. I was the first one in my family to be born with any sort of significant disability. Well, I technically wasn't born with it, but I was the first one in my family to go through that experience. So my parents literally rocked their world when they got my diagnosis, and when they figured out that I was progressively losing my hearing over time. Disability was something that they were not aware of. It was something that they were not part of. And then all of a sudden they had to identify with it in some way, shape, or form. And that really influenced the way that I experienced disability, and the way I perceived it through my lens was my parents trying to normalize me as much as they possibly could. And when I say normalize, I mean they just tried to make sure that I fit in basically with society for up until I was a teenager, frankly. And then I feel like that really led me to not be part of my culture as a deaf person, and that I didn't start learning about deaf culture until I was an adult. However, when I was 16, I went through the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, which was mentioned earlier. And that's when I really started to see disability and what it is in the world of disability. And that's when I started to realize that disability representation and inclusion is so much more than just integrating them into your community. It is teaching others what a disability is and how it's at this point, it's such a normal part of life. And that's not something that I had when I was growing up. I was either the friend with the disability, or if in my group of high school friends, which were all people who had disabilities, I was considered a normal one. And it's such a strange title to have, or label to have. So having that sort of inclusion, representation, teaching others the language, as Mateo mentioned, is crucial, because then that's when people start to see the differences rather than the similarities. Thank you.
Okay. The third question for our panel is, what are some stereotypes or biases about your disability that you have experienced? And what are some positive ways you have dealt with those situations?
So some of the stereotypes about my disability is that, I'm slow, or that, I'm, dumb or stupid. That's not the case, to an extent. Again, going back to the processing, it's going to take me a bit more longer to get my words out, but using it in a positive, I do feel that when it comes to traditional ways of speaking, throughout many different Native communities, is that silence is also a part of the conversation. That you take the breath, or that you don't always leap to the next word, or you don't there's no rush to get that what you're wanting to say out. and so allowing that, knowing that and allowing that to happen, in a in the Western world where that's more of the norm of that, how much words you can speak or how fast you can speak. At least utilizing the processing speed for my disability, just giving myself that time and that opportunity to just to think about what I'm gonna say next. I think is a more positive or a flip on just different ways of communicating.
Thank you.
I will just say there are a lot of stereotypes about deaf people that I have learned to realize over the years. But these stereotypes are usually manifested into questions that I get, and usually I'm very open about answering questions. The question that I've gotten probably the most is, do you sign? And the other question that I've probably gotten the most is, how can you talk if you're deaf? Or how can you do this if you're deaf? How can you do that if you're deaf? And my answer is typically, I can still hear you. I can still talk. Not all deaf people are mute or nonverbal. And so it doesn't work like that. And I also get a lot of assumptions that I don't understand things, or because I have different ways of communicating, that I'm not going to understand something that's being said to me in the moment. And that's not true. I'm very smart and I'm very accomplished, and I'm very, very proud of that. And I've also dealt with some biases and stereotypes about mental health as well, including that I'm not able to multitask or take on heavy loads of things. And that's just not quite true. So some positive ways that I've dealt with all of this is, if the person is in a position that they're willing to be educated, I will educate them. If they are not in a position where they are willing to be educated, I have to pick my battles and walk away. That is not worth my time or my energy. And I always do it as positively as I can, which is hard sometimes. Let's face it, it can be very, very difficult to face that kind of situation positively. But at the end of the day, it's all about teaching. And if they don't want to learn, you can't teach. So that's the way I deal with it. And I also have to remind myself, like, yourself, the way your brain works, the way you have to do this. This is good for you. This is not about them. This is about them and their unwillingness to learn, not about you and your unwillingness to teach. So that's how I deal with those situations. Thank you.
Cool. So the fourth question I have for the panel is, how has embracing your disability made you a stronger, more resilient young adult?
Let's see. I would say that it's allowed me to just see different disabilities for for what they are. Going through the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, I've met a lot of people who have different types of disabilities. Some more common, some less common, but that they are people, and that regardless of the challenges that they face, that they still have their hopes, their likes, their doubts and concerns. They still have opportunities, but they also have obstacles. It's just and it makes you think about, the different or less, obvious obstacles that you might, that you might, you yourself might not have, but somebody might, like, some people need things to be explained a certain way before they can get it. And I'm pretty sure, some people, understand that. But depending on the disability, that particular way might be, again, uncommon. Or how society sees you, that might be the obstacle. It just depends. But at least having strength and having that resilience, allows me to share that information that I've learned, and that so that other people, whether they're Native or not, have that opportunity as well to be like, this is me, this is who I am, these are my challenges, but this is why, but I'm proud of that. So that's what I'd have to say.
Thank you.
So how much I embrace my disability is like how much I make myself go out, make myself come out of my comfort zone, like learning, seeing, like hanging out with the right people, made me realize that it's not that bad. It's not that bad having a disability. It just means that you're allowed to be yourself no matter what people just say to you. This allowed me to take more time to process and let me more opportunity to like see others that they have that have a different disabilities. And I'm proud to say that, and honestly, it's so much as it takes to like accept who I am now today. So thank you.
Okay. So for me, embracing my ability, it's given me a lot more or less self-doubt in myself as a person. So it's opened my eyes more to see that, this disability does not make me different as a person. It makes me more stronger and special as a person. So I had to give myself a lot more motivation, and it's kind of still hard to, cope through things at sometimes, but I have, many resources that I can go to ask for some support or more motivation. So now I'm doing a lot better with just, embracing my disability and knowing that it's something that's a part of me now, and it's making me stronger as a person. Yes. So the fifth question, last question I have for the panel is, what would you tell your younger self what you know now?
If I told my younger self, I would tell them that it's all right to be yourself and there's no shame of having a disability. It's just part of life, and it's just who I am, and as an adult, and learning to move on and hanging out with the right people, keep touching people and stuff. So that's what I say.
That's good. Thank you. For me, I would tell my younger self that, there's going to be a lot of obstacles that I'm going to have to get through, but, you got a lot of people in your corner that can support you. And just because you're different from somebody doesn't make you any less of a person, because of your disability, so I just have to keep pushing through it and, keep trusting myself forward on. And that was the last of the questions that I have for the panel.
Anybody in our audience have any questions? Well, if there are no questions, then that concludes our panel. Thank you to everyone and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I know we're getting close to closing, if I'm not mistaken. Oh,
Someone has a question.
what is something you, okay. Go ahead, Regina.
Hang on. What is something you wish to share to the youth?
Something that I wish to share with the youth is that it's going to take time for things to get better, and it will get better. And then the one thing I would also share is to have patience, because I know you don't have any of it when you're young, like at all. And I'm 26, so I'm still in my late 20s here. But that's one thing I often have to remind myself, is just to be patient and that it's going to be okay. And to not give up. That's it.
I mean, I would say to the youth that, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be things that you feel that you can't do or that you won't be able to do. And that might be true for a time, but that doesn't mean that's going to be true forever. Just, take take it one day at a time. And that, there are, if you made it this far, from this morning to now, know that there are, opportunities and different programs and different people that are willing to support you, and that you're not alone. Sometimes it might not be where you are, the opportunity might not be where you're at, but again, just take it one day at a time.
Thank you, Mateo. Thank you, Audra. So that concludes our panel. Thanks everyone for coming and listening to us. So hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you for that presentation. It is very important to share your thoughts on how young adults can manage bias in an empowering way, as well as celebrate all their diversities and embrace all aspects of your self-identity. I would also like to take this time to address that there is a quick survey